All right. I think we're going. It's always when I start talking, like I have to clear my throat. I apologize. Welcome back to another one of these things where we just kind of talk about whatever comes to mind. And I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Mine's been going okay. A lot of meetings today, though I feel like that's just going to be the story of my life for the next few days. For those of you following along a little bit, I've got about 4 days left at my current job. I gave my 2 weeks. Well, it'll be 2 weeks on the 31st. From when I announced that to my teams, I let my management know a few days before that. So like it's been a little bit of a long time going, but like most of my time basically has been spent documenting things and meeting with people and making sure like loose ends are tied up for projects I've been working on and things like that. So it's been a bit of a lot of talking with people. It's been nice. Like you kind of get like I worked where I work for my 8-year anniversary was in January. So it's been a while. It's not an insignificant amount of time to be working with people. You make good relationships. You end up being it's long enough that you care about the people you work with, especially if you worked with them for a long time. And I've been lucky enough to work with roughly the same people for my entire tenure. Most of it is actually just people revolving or rotating around where I was at. Honestly, it was just wherever I was, there was certain people that would follow and people would sort of swap in, swap out and stuff like that. But there's usually a core group of people that I worked with for about 8 years. And yeah, it's just been like, it's a little like heart wrenching a little bit. We work with people for that long and you end up, like I said, getting attached. And it's like, these are good people. Like not like quite friend level, like in a lot of cases, but still close. Like you care. You want them to be successful where they're going, and you might not know. And you're probably just gonna like as much as I like give my contact information to people and like if you want to stay in contact, reach out. I know I'm absolutely terrible at it, and I'm sure a good handful of those people are too. So it's just one of those realities that they're probably not going to be following around for the foreseeable future. And it's just something you kind of gotta deal with and live with. And if there are things that you want to do beyond where you're at, then it's kind of like you just go do it. Unless like the people there are just like that amazing and they like make your life kind of thing. It's just like I can't imagine not doing something like this with these people. But for me, it was a very much value the people that I've worked with, but still very much wanting to go do other things that I feel are kind of important. Most people don't know I work in insurance technology, and that's not what I want to do for my entire life. So definitely looking to kind of move on from there. But in a similar vein, a little bit something that was on it's come up a lot recently, and I hadn't heard like I hear a little bit of this, just people approaching me directly, but what's the word? Like people will talk to other people and be like, hey, are you worried about your team because this person is leaving? And my trajectory was kind of interesting. When I started, I was just an associate dev. I barely knew how to write a for loop, and I ended up just working on enough projects that had a bit of spotlight on them and kept sort of rising through the ranks, so to say, until I think it was in 2019. That's when I became a senior developer and ended up working on some really high profile projects that got me the chance to start my own team. So I grabbed a couple people that I really wanted to work with, and it was basically like, I want to make a team with these people and we're just going to go do stuff. And like we've grown that team a bit. It started with 2 people plus me, and we've got 2 more people on that team now over the course of the last year and a half. So it's grown by about 100%, which is that sounds like a lot, but we're only just a little team, honestly. And people are like, it's like, are you afraid like the team isn't going to have like direction after I leave? And I'm glad. Like there's a lot of like everyone's response to that who's on my team is like, no. Like that's not what's going to happen. We're going to keep doing things. Like, yeah, John has ideas and always make sure we have work to do, but making sure we have work to do isn't something we can't do ourselves. It isn't something we can't go ask other people what needs doing. You don't need one person throwing all the ideas in a bucket to build things. You just need to go out there and listen and find things and improve stuff, which is a nice thing to hear, because I think some of my team members, some of my colleagues are like, you leaving is devastating and we don't know how we're gonna get by. And surprisingly to them, my own team, the one I'm most responsible for, is like, I'll be fine. And I really like that. Like, I don't know if like people will sometimes have like a bit of like a, maybe it's like an ego thing where they're just like, when I leave, I want my team to be heartbroken. I want them to be like, we can't go on without you and we need you to stay and things like that. And I'm like, I don't want that. That's not why I built this team. I didn't build it so that I can just have a bunch of people at my beck and call. I built it so that they can be self-sufficient and do what I do even when I'm not there. And that they all feel that way at this point is probably the greatest compliment that I could get as somebody who started a team. Just like, I could be like some of my other colleagues who were just like, we don't know what to do. Like, you not being here is like a huge deal. But the people who I started the team with are like, no, we see a path. You laid a path, and we're just gonna keep going down that path. And because you're not here, like, that'll change it a bit, and that's okay. We're gonna find our own way and do things a bit the way that we want to do. And like, that's good. I think that's honestly the best kind of team that you can build, is one that isn't just like, it isn't just for you doing things. I think somebody used the word like, it's a legacy that you leave behind. I'm not sure I'm like 100% all in on that word. I think it carries a lot of weight, but that is certainly a thing that I think about, is what do I do that's left behind after me that still is there and does things. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or anything, or a landmark, and you shouldn't be like building your life around what your legacy is or anything. Just be a decent person. We're all here for a little bit, and we're all a part of this massive story of humanity. And what you leave behind can just be a decent person that like made a lot of people smile or something. And that's like, yeah, that's not a tangible thing that people can check like way after. It's like, oh yeah, Carl was really good at. Carl had a 1,000 smiles per day rating on whatever mabobber, and like, that made him a good person. Like, no one's gonna remember that, but does it matter? And as long as it's not like that, like you leave and everything falls apart, then you did okay. If when you leave, then everything just kind of keeps going. Like, sure, everyone will be a little upset for a little bit. Like, if you were a good person, then you left an impact on people, and they're gonna be a little sad. That happens. But it can't be a relationship such that like you only built something for you that can't survive without you. It's not sustainable in any sense of the word. So while I'm not completely like in on the whole legacy term, it is nice to have at least that validation from my own team. That's like, we appreciate everything you did and we're gonna miss you, but you don't have to worry about this thing. The ship will keep cruising. Not like the one that's caught in that canal right now. the I can't remember what it was called now, but uh, but it'll just keep going, and it'll go for as long as it can until it either stops, becomes insufficient. There's no need for it anymore, and it just becomes something else, and that's fine. That's probably a part of it. Is just like that's probably why I think I have like a bad relationship with the word legacy. It's like for a long time I was thinking about that. It's like, what am I going to do that the world remembers me for? And at some point you have to realize that whatever mark you're leaving is always going to be temporary. You might be like an event that hits for a little bit and it's the right thing to do for a while, but ideas and people and how we do things changes all the time. Whatever was right to do in this moment likely won't be the right thing to do in another 10 to 50 years. We're going to find better ways to do it. And your contribution can kind of go down in history, but it's not going to be something that lives forever. Like, your idea helps shape what's currently there, but it's not your legacy anymore. You don't have to worry about that. Just leaving the world a little bit better than how you found it. And that's more mortal coil type things, and you don't have to think about life and death that way. But I like to think about that in terms of projects that you're working on, places that you work. It's if you are invested or do end up getting invested in the people, the teams, potentially products and projects. That's not me. I just get attached to the people around me. That the thing you leave behind is just the ability to keep going forward. You don't have to leave something that's like, I'm going to keep using this tool for the rest of my existence. It's just what you leave behind is a path and the encouragement to keep going and to let people know that they can do it. I guess unless they can't for some reason, then you definitely have to let them know that. But if you're doing good at it, you should leave a path, and you should know they'd be able to do it. Otherwise, what are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, probably a little rambly. It's just something that sort of been thinking about for a bit. That I just kind of enjoy the fact that I don't want to say my team is the one that's going to miss me least, but that's kind of what it ends up being. They're going to miss me, but they're also the group of people who I've worked around that are the most likely to keep doing just fine when I'm gone. Which is the greatest success that I could have with a team in creating something. And hopefully I'll have that kind of success with what I'm working on next. It'd be pretty good if that was the case. Just got to keep building things that can sustain themselves for a bit more and then move on to the next thing. But also while taking care of myself. Can't overload myself. Anyway, I think that's probably about it for today. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. And we will catch you in the next one. See ya.